Shipwrecked 64 is a mascot horror game developed by Squeaks D'corgeh, which disguises itself as an N64 game from 1997, which is hiding some really dark secrets behind the massive multimedia company Broadside, which is pretty much Disney if it was awesome. And this might actually be one of the greatest and most creative horror games ever created. Before you watch this video, I need to say that there will be spoilers, and I recommend you go into this game completely blind. Shipwrecked 64 is easily a 10 out of 10 in my book, and it's only $8 in Steam, so I highly recommend you give it a shot. Anyways, onto the video. The basic premise of Shipwrecked is that you discover a rebuilt version of an N64 game known as Shipwrecked 64, which was a game that was pulled from shelves in 1997 after only 3 days due to the disturbing content hidden within it. Once you actually enter Shipwrecked 64, you play as Bucky the Beaver after crash landing on an island. And unfortunately, the characters Olive Otter, Walter Walrus, and Giovanni Goose have been captured by the wolves that inhabit the island. The way you save your friends is by completing the little minigames that they have for you. Once you complete every minigame, you can leave the island. Pretty simple, right? Wrong. If you decide to instead fail these minigames, random events will occur like strange noises, misplaced objects, and entirely new rooms appearing out of nowhere, including a lot of disturbing sequences and set pieces. I won't be showing up all the instances of this happening, but there are a few that I do want to show off. Oh. Okay.
Hello, we are not available now. Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
You showed up at the door again. I don't know what to do. There's something about us and there's just felt wrong.
Stuff like this really reminds me of old creepypastas like Ben Drowned or Mario 64 Personalized, and I think that is one of the most unique ideas ever for a horror game. And I remember being terrified of those old creepypastas when I was a kid, so that adds a little bit of childhood trauma to my experience with Shipwrecked. That also brings me into my next topic. Shipwrecked 64 makes its own formula when it comes to mascot horror. What I mean by this is that instead of the game opening with you entering some children's establishment or something similar, doing some shallow puzzles and getting chased and having that be the end of it, Shipwreck goes for something entirely unique and interesting by having the player play in an in-universe video game, and which is something that I'll always appreciate. Before I talk about this next thing, please note that there are some larger spoilers for the game, so if you want to avoid that, skip to this timestamp. Anyways, another thing that I find really cool is if you were paying attention, you've probably seen the locked doors in the background. These doors will bring you to other layers of the game, which become weirder and weirder the farther you go down, which makes you feel like you're seeing something that is not meant to be seen, which is very interesting. One last thing that I need to mention about Shipwrecked, which is very important, is that it's an ARG hidden within a game. This pretty much means that you have to interact with things outside of the game to fully understand the story that Broadside is trying to hide. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the premise of the game. Now time to move on to the gameplay. The gameplay is definitely one of the most unique aspects of Shipwrecked. Unlike a lot of horror games nowadays, it's actually a platformer attempting to replicate stuff like Mario 64. But the more interesting part of the gameplay is the puzzles. The puzzles are meant to be like an ARG within a video game, which to my knowledge hasn't been done before. ARGs are probably one of my favorite ways for people to tell a story because it's fun to figure out codes and ciphers as a community. I'm surprised nobody has attempted to fit an ARG in an actual video game before, but I'm glad we finally have something that does that. More spoilers here, but one last thing I need to mention is that the chases are extremely intense, and some of the scariest that I've ever faced in a horror game ever. Now, I've got a few things to say about the art direction. This game replicates the look of an N64 game so well. Like, I'm being so honest when I say that if I didn't know this was a horror game made by Squeaks, last name D'corgeh, I would think this was an actual Nintendo game. It replicates the look that well. More slightly bigger spoilers, so skip to this time step if you want to have a better experience with the game. This game is absolutely horrifying. I'm being dead serious when I say this game has scared me way more than any other horror game in my life. All the chase sequences are so tense and the designs for all the monsters are some of the best I've ever seen due to how creepy they look. Absolutely incredible. Overall, I strongly believe that Shipwrecked is one of, if not the greatest horror game I've played ever in my life. It's an amazing mix of absolutely horrific sequences, extremely fun gameplay, and charming visuals. So all in all, I highly suggest you give it a try. There's so many things that I didn't go over in this video, so you'll be in for an insane experience. I also neglected to mention that Shipwrecked hasn't even been solved yet, so please join the community and help solve the ARG. Anyways, opposite of thanks for watching, bye!